How did I become so spiritual? Interesting question. Somebody asked me. Somebody sent a message says you come out for all these really profound things. How did you become so spiritual? And I don't see myself as being spiritual at all. And it's a word that I don't generally use. I don't use the word, oh, that's spiritual, this is spiritual, or this is what spirituality is, or whatever, because it's kind of an illusion, because everybody has different sort of parameters of what spirituality is, and people will label something as, this is spiritual, this isn't spiritual. This is a spiritual person, this isn't a spiritual person. Something I never gave much thought to. Years ago, maybe, the first time somebody ever said to me, you're spiritual, was like, I don't know, 12, 13 years ago, something like that. And I was having a conversation with somebody. They said, wow, you're really spiritual. I said, really? How do you know? And they said, just what you're saying, it's so deep. I was like, okay, so I'm thinking, well, that's what spirituality is to this person. I'm saying something that is maybe sort of very deep thinking, or comes across as being profound or something, so they see that as being spiritual. I just don't use the word. And when I see people say, oh, this is spiritual, oh, it's very spiritual, what does that really mean? There's people out there who will sit there and meditate and go and burn their incense and ding some gongs or something, and go and have some candles lit and go, look how spiritual I am, and they're thinking that they're more spiritual than the person that doesn't do that. They think they're, then there's someone who's a CEO of a company, and they might employ 400 or 500 people. They're serving, they're putting a roof over the head of hundreds of families and feeding them and everything, and creating this great service for the world. Is that person less spiritual than the person that sits there by themselves with the candles lit and goes and burns some incense? Again, it's the word is illusionary. So I would recommend just drop the word, because when you use it, you're putting people into a box, or taking people out of a box and saying this person is spiritual, that person isn't spiritual. And sometimes people say to me, I'll do something or I'll say something, and they'll say, well, that's not very spiritual of you. I say, well, I'm not trying to be spiritual. I'm just being myself, right? I'm just being myself. I'm not trying to be, this is what spiritual is, so I need to be in this box of spirituality. Because I did that at one stage. At one stage I was thinking like, all these people are telling me I'm spiritual, so maybe I need to do things a certain way. And I started to fall into that trap of I've actually got to box myself into something, And I got over that pretty quick once I saw the trap of spirituality. Let's call it the trap of spirituality, because what it is, it's a trap, and it creates limitations. It boxes people in and doesn't allow them to be themselves, because they think they need to be spiritual, or it's better to be spiritual, and this is what spirituality is, and this is what society says spirituality is, and whatever. So what's spirituality? I don't know. I could give you a definition of it, but then it might not fit into yours, and you might have another definition. So it doesn't really matter. It's really just about being yourself. Let's just call it that. The more spiritual you are, is the more you're being your authentic self, and taking away the limitations of your programming, labels, taking labels. As soon as you say something spiritual, you're putting a label on it, and you're taking the spirituality out of it, So you use as little labels as possible, right? And this is the spirituality of no spirituality. I don't know, I could talk about it, and then it becomes not it. It's like Taoism. As soon as you say what Taoism is, that's not Taoism, right? Same sort of thing for spirituality. I don't use the word, and I don't see it as a compliment. You know, if someone says I'm spiritual, I don't see that as a compliment at all, because I know plenty of people who see themselves as being spiritual, and I would not like to be put into that, in with that lot. You know what I mean? And that's no judgment. It's just not who I am, you know? So, whatever it means to you, it doesn't matter. Better just to drop it. It's an illusion. Okay, thanks for watching. Remember to leave me a comment. Tell me what spirituality is to you. It could be interesting. Remember to give us a like and subscribe. See you next time.